So, good morning, everyone. Let us begin with inter-thread communication today. I think I had stopped discussing on why we require inter-thread communication. I think in the previous class we had also discussed about mutual exclusive threads. Okay. Today I'll be going ahead with what is called as inter-thread communication. So let me share the screen. I will directly go to the programs because content and all concepts and all we have discussed already in the previous classes. Whether the screen is visible, please let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so initially, let me go ahead step by step. Okay, first program that I have written where two threads I'm creating using runnable interface. Okay, I have created two threads, and there is one more concept called anonymous thread class. I hope you remember that. I have used anonymous thread class for creation of the thread, and each thread prints uh, the value of I starting from 0. You can just check here. Each thread prints I starting from 0. Okay. Then I have called per thread there is a sleep of 100. Okay. Let me just glance through the program. I have created a package inter-thread communication. Under that, the first example that I have taken, just have a look at it. I have named thread as A. Okay. Um, I have named thread as A, and I have created using runnable interface a new thread class. Just have pay attention. The way I have written this part, it is a bit different from the previous things. It is just because you just have to know about the various ways in which same program can be written. Okay. So please have a look at this properly, how it has been written. Just have a look. Thread A equal to new thread. This remains the same. Within bracket itself, the whole of run method is being written. Okay. You just can see new runnable. What is the meaning of this new runnable? You are creating a runnable you are creating an instance of runnable interface. Okay. And instead of writing it separately and then calling it by an object, what is being done here, runnable interface itself is being object of runnable interface itself is being attached with the run method. You can just see new runnable, opening bracket, closing bracket, then there is an opening curly brace, then inside that there is a run method, and run method simple print number of A. Okay. Now so what is this print number? Print number is a method written inside, print number is a method written inside the same class. Okay, you can see there it is a method written inside the same class. Now what's happening? Inside the main method there is a creation of A, there is a creation of B. So print number of A. What it does after print number of A? So it goes here, thread name getting attached with capital A. That is the meaning of that. Okay. Instead of doing set name separately, because I cannot do separately set name, as I am creating the run method inside the creation of the thread itself. Okay. So all things are getting combined, and I am passing the name of the thread as a parameter to the function print number. See, bit differently every program I am doing purposely. Okay. Because each and every program that you see on the internet, you should understand it does like this. Only with that purpose I have written it differently. Okay. Then similarly, I have created one more thread B and passed its name B over here. Then just have a look at this. A and B have been created and their own run methods are being written. Okay. And inside each of the run method, there is a call for print number. Then using this name A, I have called start method. Similarly, using this name B, I have called the start method. So in turn, they will call the respective run methods. This is the end of main. Then the print number, doing nothing, prints I, goes to sleep. Okay. Nothing else other than that. Yeah, I hope it is clear for you. I hope it is clear for you. Now, what is happening? Just have a look at this. Try thread.sleep, catch, interrupted exception, end of the catch block. Then you have written, then the printing of I is been written. You can do this the other way also. First system.out.println and then try catch block. All are one and the same. Okay. So let me run this program. How this works, let us see. Yeah, you can just see A has printed 1, B has printed 1, A has printed 2, B has printed 2, A has printed 2, A has printed 3, B has printed 3. The meaning of this is both A and B are working parallelly, and whoever completes first, that person will take over. See, there is no waiting, there is no notification explicitly. So they are Marzi Ka Malik. So any person can take anyways. Okay. So that is how the things are working here. Yeah. Now, a bit of modification has been done in example 2. Just have a look. Print number is same, no change at all. Okay. You can just see there is a creation of A, thread A. There is no change at all in this. There is a creation of B, and there is something called as system.out.println. B starts waiting for A. Why this I have written? There is a reason for that, because soon after this I have called try. What is there in try? A dot join. You're calling join on thread A. You're calling join on thread A. So the meaning of this is what? Until and unless A completes its total printing, B cannot start. Until and unless A completes, B cannot start. That is the meaning of this. That's why I have written B starts waiting for A. Okay, so there is a usage of join inside the run method. Inside the run method of B, there is a calling of join on A. Guys, I hope you are understanding this. Please let me know. Please let me know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there are some comments. Just now I have opened the comment box. I will read it out later. Can I read it out later, please? Okay, let me go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Fine.
Yeah, yeah. So what is the meaning of this? Just compare this program with the first program. What is happening in the first program? Both the threads are independently available, and there is no hard and fast rule that thread A has to work first, then thread B. There is no rule at all, because both of them are working parallelly. Okay, but at a time only one thread can work, not both. Okay, but in the second one, inside the run method of, there is a call for join method on thread A. What is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is B has no power to start its working. The reason for that, on thread A, inside the run method of B, whenever there is a call for start on B, it goes to the run method, but it sees that there is a join method on A. So what it does, it just goes back and checks whether A is working, whether thread A is there in the working queue, or has it got the processor right now. If so, then B will go for waiting state. Okay, this is one more way of doing it. So let me run this program. So just have a look at this. Until and unless A completes all these tasks, B will not start. In comparison to the previous one, what was there in the previous one? Previous one was talking about A and B toggling. Or it may so happen that B comes first, then A comes. There is no rule set at all. Okay, so it is free of any rules in the first program. In the second program, using join, there is a bit of synchronization shown. Okay, now let me go to the third one. So this program is explicitly what is called as inter-thread communication. I will go through this program line by line. Okay, I'll go through this program line by line. Please pay attention, all of you. Let me begin with the first line of the main method. Okay, first line of the main method. What is this talking about? So there is something called as object class which has a variable or object or an instance of object class called lock. Okay, and this lock, it indicates what? Whether the thread is being locked or not. I'll repeat. What is the meaning of lock? Locking, creation of a locking is nothing but what? Whether that particular thread is holding the processor or not. That is the meaning of it. Okay. So lock is nothing but the mutex that you have used in your simple programming, the simple what is that? Interprocess programming in operating system. Similar to that, I have created one variable. I can see, for simplicity, I'm calling it as a variable, but it is an object. Okay. I have created an object lock which comes under object class. Guys, you may ask me a question. You are creating a lock for a thread, but you are creating an object of object class. What is this going on? Reason for this is object class. Okay, reason for this is object class is having this object lock. The lock is not at all available as part of thread. Lock is available as part of the object class. Please note it down. Whenever you want to have a lock on any thread, you have to create an object of object class, and purposely I have made it as final. What is the use of final? Can anybody comment? What is the use of final?
Ma'am, final is used to make something fixed, which will be invariable. Like
Yeah,
if we used with any variable, then
once
it
you
will be
define,
fixed.
once you declare something, that will be the final. I can call it as global constant. Okay, you're right. So it does not let us change. Prarthana has commented. That is correct. So accordingly, I have made this lock as final. Okay. Reason for this, once I have created this, I cannot change that. Okay, so let's go ahead. Next line. What is the next line? I have kept this line as it is. I have not changed anything in this line. Inside this thread class creation using runnable interface, inside this I have created the run method, and the first line that I have written is A is waiting for the lock. What is the meaning of this? Purposely I have written all these headings. Okay, see, when I go to the further of this program, what is there? A dot start and B dot start is there. Okay. So that makes the run method. So from where the execution begins? From here. What is that line? From the line A dot start. When there is a call for A dot start, it just searches for thread A. Thread A associated with its corresponding run method. So it goes inside the run method, and next line I am trying to synchronize on this object. What is this synchronized used for here? The word synchronized used here, it talks about, it is neither static synchronization. Varshini, I'll come back to your point. Okay, it is neither static synchronization nor it is synchronized method. But what it is a synchronized block where you can synchronize the lock. You can synchronize the lock. You are not synchronizing on the thread object. You are synchronizing on the locking object. This is where the inter-thread communication differs from synchronization methods that we have discussed in mutual exclusion. Are you all getting this? Are you all getting this? Please let me know. Please let me know. Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what I have done on this locking object, I have called the synchronized block. So under this synchronized block, whatever that comes, that will be put for synchronization. See, this is very crucial. Even if I use synchronized of lock and without actual usage of inter-thread communication, if I don't use any such methods which lead to inter-thread communication, then it becomes the normal mutual exclusive synchronization. I'll repeat. If I use synchronized block on the object lock, and I don't use any method which leads to inter-thread communication, then it will be a normal synchronization which talks about mutual exclusion. I hope I am clear. Guys, I'm asking you every now and then, I hope I'm clear. The reason for this is, crucial point that I'm making is usage of proper methods, which talks about inter-thread communication. I hope I'm clear with this. You can comment, guys, because this is a very crucial example that I have taken. Clear with this? Can I go ahead? Yeah, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now, inside this, what I have done, with this synchronized block, have I achieved inter-thread communication? No, not yet. Not yet. So what is that? I will simply print A has got the lock. And I have, see, I have not called any method here. I have explicitly printed 1, 2, 3. Okay, for simplicity. What is that? I have called A1. Okay, A1. Now, before A prints 2 and 3, I just want to push this A backwards. I just want to push this A backwards. How can I do that? Using this lock object which I have used in the synchronized block, I will use that object to call what is called as wait. What is called as wait method. What is this wait method does? This wait method does? We have discussed about wait method, sleep method, suspend method previously also. Okay. Sleep does what? Sleep does what? Sleep just makes the thread to go back to sleep mode and come back soon after that particular timing is over. But what about wait? Wait pushes that particular thread, the thread which is holding the lock, pushes that particular thread into what is called as waiting queue. I think you should remember, you should recollect at this point the thread life cycle. Start we may go to running or runnable. Okay, running or runnable, or I can call it as ready queue. So whenever you call wait on the lock object which is held by the thread, that particular thread goes to what is called as ready queue. So it is moving out of the running state to what is called as ready state. Okay. And until what time it has to stay back there? Until what time? Can anybody comment? Until what time it has to stay back? Does it have any timer here? It doesn't have any timer. Of course, you can associate a timer. That is an optional thing. Okay. But I just want to have what is called as ITC, inter-thread communication, actually established here. Okay. So I have not given any timer over here. Instead, it will go into the waiting queue until the other thread which yeah until the other thread which will occupy the running state, that thread notifies this thread. Until that time, this particular thread A will go to what is called as waiting queue. So this is called explicit synchronization or inter-thread communication. Here there is a communication happening. A telling B, look, I want to go to waiting state. You can continue. And B in turn tells back to A, I have completed my task. You just go ahead. This is called inter-thread communication. Till now, we have never used this kind of any methods. Since we have never used these kind of methods, they were called as mutual exclusive synchronizations. Okay. Now again, whenever you use wait method, no, you should have try catch block. join, sleep, wait, suspend, all these may require what is called as interrupted exception. The reason for that, there may be a reason, there may be a case wherein a thread coming in which is of highest priority, then that particular highest priority thread may interrupt the thread which is running. So always all these thread related which will lead to what is called as inter-thread communication will have something called as try catch block. Okay, so soon after the catch block, B wakes up and A regains the clock. Okay, then there is a call for A to A3. Let us go for thread B. What is there in thread B? See, initially I have printed B is waiting for the lock. Reason for that? Because initially, though I have started A as well as B, who has taken over initially? A. A prints 1, then there is a call for wait. So once the wait is called, B takes over. And there is a synchronized block on the same object lock. Same object lock, which will never be changed because it is final. Now once B has occupied, it prints 1, 2, 3 and then it ends printing. Then there is a call for notify. Just have a look at this line of code. On the same locking object, there is a call for notify. There's a call for notify. See, okay, let me run this program and then I will ask you one more question. Okay, then there is a call for A dot start and B dot start. So everything I have done in the main method only. This you can do also as separate functions, as some separate classes as we had done previously. There is nothing wrong in that. But for simplicity, I have taken a single class. Inside that single method having two threads created, and threads are in such a way that they are accompanied by the run method inside the thread creation itself. Okay, so let me run this program and just have a look at the kind of the output it is printing. Okay, so see, I have called A dot start and I have called B dot start. Is there any hard and fast rule that A always has to start at the beginning? Can anybody tell me? A always has to start at the beginning? You can unmute and comment, please. Pardon?
No, ma'am.
No. Why it is not there? Because I have not called anywhere the join method. Are you getting it? I have not called anywhere the join method. So they may take up in any ways. Either A starts or B starts. Let me rerun this. Okay, I will stop this. Let me rerun this. See now, there is an exchange of A and B occurrence. A and B occurrence. Okay, what is that? A is waiting for the lock and A has got the lock, and at the same time B is waiting for the lock. See, this line printing may come after A1 has printed or before A1 has printed. There is nothing wrong in it, because by the time it has started printing this, B would have started. But has it started working with the process that is required? It has not. Okay, then there is a print of A1. Then what is next? A is ready to enter into the waiting state and then B has got the lock. So B prints 1, 2, 3, all the things. Okay, then B ends printing and calls the notifies to A. Then A starts printing again. A prints 2 and 3. Okay, there is explicit calling of wait and notify. Along with this, if I add something called as join method, then it becomes a total inter-thread communication, which also has what is called as mutual exclusion. Am I clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you. You just imagine right now I have A and B, correct? You just imagine the situation like this. there are 4 threads getting created. Okay, A, B, C, and D. And they are created in such a way that A begins the first, A begins the first, but A after printing 1 has called wait. A has called wait. B also has printed 1 and has called wait. C has started, C has started and it also has printed 1, 2 and then called the wait. And finally D being started. That D will print 1, 2, 3, all of them. Okay, then what is the way in which D notifies to all these threads?
Ma'am, maybe when D will stop, means when D will go to the waiting queue,
Hmm?
D will notify to all the other threads, ma'am, A, B, C, and any one of them may start the execution.
Okay, this is one. Prarthana is written, maybe it notifies the thread running before it. This is one way.
I think it notifies the lock, ma'am.
It notifies the lock.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See,
And
yeah, go ahead, go
and
ahead.
whatever are there in the wait states, in that order, the next one will come in, ma'am.
Yes. See, the rule sets are like this. They are very clear. If you write, just have a look at the thing that I'm writing. If you write lock.notify all, okay, this is the simplest way of making all of the waiting queues active and let them decide among themselves who will come first. This is the safest way. What is the safest way? Using the lock, with the lock is obviously common to all the threads. Okay, using that lock, you just call what is called as notify all. That notify all triggers every other thread which was sleeping or which was waiting. Then there is an actual signal sent to each and every thread which was running previously but has entered into waiting. At this point, there are 2 ways in which the things can happen. First way is the, the thread that has the highest priority picks up. Out of the 3, the thread that has the highest priority picks up. Or the other way is, as you have seen in the output, there is a changeover in the way in which the threads are printing. It means what? All the other 3 threads are having the equal priority. If you want to have the difference between the timing in which the threads are working, then what you need to do? You need to assign proper priorities to them. So, in combination of all these things, if you have a proper locking mechanism, if you have a proper inter-thread communication methodologies, if you have a proper join method usage or thread priority assignment usage, then it becomes a total application of inter-thread communication. Otherwise, it becomes partially inter-thread communication, partially it is mutual exclusion. I hope I'm clear with this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll show you one very simple example, one more very simple example. I call it as banking method. I think about this I have discussed many of the times. Until and unless you have a proper amount in your account, you cannot withdraw. Okay. I think for that reason, there is a withdraw called, but there is insufficient balance, then you cannot withdraw. Okay, so let me just go ahead. Um, Let me just go ahead like this. I will just go through this program. Just have a look at this. What is that I have taken? Amount equal to 10,000. The meaning of amount is balance. I have taken a bank class inside that. See, this is, guys, you must understand. First example that I had taken was simple mutual exclusion. Second example that I had taken, it was also simple mutual exclusion with join method usage. Third program that I had used was using log method. Okay. Then without using any log anything, I have inter-thread communication. Okay. 4 different categories I have shown you. So inside this, so I will just minimize this. Let me just ask you, what is the way in which you can manage the things like this? If I have a balance of 1000 rupees and I want to withdraw 3000 rupees, can I go ahead? I cannot, obviously. So how can I make sure that my withdraw stops? Please comment. I'll repeat the question if you want. You
Yes, ma'am.
have a balance of 1000 rupees in your bank, but you are trying to withdraw 3000 rupees. So can you withdraw? First of all, if it allows you to withdraw, your banking system collapses. Okay, you have to avoid that. How do you do that? By raising the exception, of course. Only by raising the exception can it work. It should actually stop. Correct. Suspend that withdraw thread. How you can suspend? Either you can call explicitly the suspend method or you can call wait on that particular thread. Am I right? You can call wait on that particular thread. That wait or the suspend. When that wait ends, the wait ends only when it receives the notify. Otherwise, it will never end. Okay. I hope the question is clear for you. I'll go back to the banking system. Just have a look at this. I have written withdraw method which is synchronized. Obviously, it has to be synchronized. Otherwise it becomes inconsistent data. Okay. Now, if this dot amount lesser than the amount, this dot amount talks about 10,000 lesser than the amount that I have passed. Okay. Suppose I'm trying to withdraw 20,000. Can it withdraw? It cannot. Okay, in that case, what it has to do, it has to print me notified. Look, you cannot withdraw. Also, it should call wait. Also, it should call wait. See, look at this example and this example. What is this example doing? This example is trying to call wait on the log which is held. So you are using mutex here. Mutex log you are using. What about here? Whichever thread that has called on this, that particular current thread, on that particular current thread, wait is called. The meaning of that. Okay. Now, until and unless you have the proper amount, you have to wait. If you have the proper amount available as the balance, then I'm just deducting that amount. And I'm just printing this is the current balance after withdrawing. Then I have something called as deposit. In the deposit, simple thing. I don't have to check anything over in the deposit. Amount has to be positive. That's it. Okay. So this dot amount equal to this dot amount plus amount. And I'm just printing the balance. Once I have deposited the amount, then I will notify. See, simple example I have taken. Actually, it has many other loopholes here. You just imagine like this. I have a balance of 1000. I have deposited 1000 rupees. Amount has become 2000, but I'm trying to withdraw 3000. Now also it has a problem. Okay. But that kind of complexities I have not considered. I've considered the simplest example where I'm trying to withdraw an amount which is more than the balance. Okay. Now, once I have deposited the required amount, now if I notify, then this particular withdraw will trigger. It will start. Okay. So let me check whether it works or not. Where I have passed the amount. Okay, I'm trying to read the amount from the user. That amount I'm passing. And that amount, look at this, I have called on this particular, see, purposely every program I have written differently. Okay, this is called anonymous thread class. This is called anonymous thread class. And on the anonymous thread class, I have called the start method. I've called the start method. Look at this. What is that I'm doing? I'm trying to call withdraw on the amount. Withdraw on the amount. So what it does? It just goes back. It checks whatever the amount that I have passed. Is it lesser than the balance or greater than the balance? If it is lesser, simply it goes back to the waiting state. It goes back to the waiting state. It will never withdraw. And until and unless the amount becomes proper, the withdrawing will not be proper. So in the next thread, what is happening? I'm trying to deposit 5,000 rupees. Okay, just have a look at this. Again, there is no join method used. So whichever thread comes first, that thread takes over. Okay, so there will be change in the mode of running of the program every time you rerun the program. Let me run this. So what is happening? Going to deposit. So first the deposit has started. First the deposit has started. So it has deposited 5,000. Currently the balance is 15,000. Let me try 10,000 if I want to withdraw. It is happening correctly now. Okay. Let me rerun this. Okay. Again the deposit has taken the first. I want withdraw to take first. Since I have not called join method, there is no guarantee that which comes first. Okay, anyways, let me write 16,000. What is happening? It is going to withdraw, but there is a less balance waiting for the deposit. So again, what you can call? You can repeat the task. What you can call? You can call the deposit method. Are you getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is the best example of inter-thread communication. I think the third example and the bank example shows you the different usages of wait and notify. Okay. Now I'll go back to Varshini's comment. Okay, in the last class you are taught static synchronization, but some people are telling that they are not able to execute that program and they are getting some errors. Okay, on static synchronization, what was the program that I had given? I'm so sorry, I cannot remember because in between I had my PhD presentation. Obviously, I would have forgotten this. Please let me know which was the example. Can somebody tell me? Guys, can somebody tell me? Varshini?
Ma'am, that factorial printing and all maybe.
Okay, I had given an assignment.
No, no, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, you told to print 4 threads and then factorial and yes, ma'am, factorial. Even odd, sum of even numbers and odd numbers.
Okay, sum of even numbers and sum of odd numbers with the proper
Ah,
synchronization.
yes, ma'am. And one other is factorial printing, and we have to create 4 thread classes
Hmm?
like that, ma'am. One is even odd class thread, and
Okay,
with respect to that, we have to yes, ma'am.
okay. So you are getting confused with static synchronization?
Ma'am, actually, we are getting some errors. Like we are not
Okay,
able
if
to
you could
find it. Like
share
how
me
to check.
that program, Varshini, it becomes
Yes,
so
ma'am.
convenient for me because where is that error that I can show it to you?
Ma'am, you have that program in your system itself. Last time you have shown, but means not this
Don't
program,
remember.
some other program.
So sorry, actually, I'm unable to recollect all the things. It was there in multi-threading, right?
Maybe, ma'am.
Static synchronization, I hope so. Is this one?
Yes, Yes, ma'am. Maybe table
Let's print
printing.
table.
Yeah, ma'am. Fine. Fine with any methods. Like, but we need to know like how
Yeah.
static synchronization works.
Okay. So there is a creation of T1, T2, T3, T4. All the threads are getting created, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
Yeah, similar to
what is
that.
happening inside this print table? Okay, now I got your point. What you wanted. Okay. Um, See, there is a creation of four threads here. Each of the thread is calling independently. Just have a look at this. There's a creation of thread T1. Okay, thread T1. And T1, it has called my thread 11. I'll just go back to my thread 11. What is there here? It has simply called table2 dot print table of 1. What is this table2? Let me just go back. So table2 is a class which contains print table method. Okay, table2 is a class which contains print table method. Now inside this table2 there is a print table, and this print table prints the table of the numbers. That's it. Okay. Now what has happened after this class? I have created four thread classes: thread 11, thread 12, thread 13, thread 14, and each of the class has a run method independently available. Each of these is calling print table on the object table2, on the object of table 2. So what is the meaning of this table 2's object? Have I created any table 2's object? No. You can directly call like this: table 2 dot print table. Why you can call? Why you can call like this? It is just because you have made this as static synchronized. Because each time you call the print table, it is statically available. What is the property of static? Can anybody please quickly? I am left out with 5 minutes.
Ma'am, static is used so that without making object of it, we can use it.
Correct.
We
You
can
need
use it.
not create any object. Okay. For that reason, the static synchronization is useful. Okay. The synchronized word, it does what? Synchronization. What is the use of static word? Static word, make sure that you can call that method without creation of an object. So how you can go ahead then? You can simply call like this: use of the name of the class dot the method. Name of the class dot the method. It becomes so convenient for you because if you have hundreds of threads creating and hundreds of threads calling the same method, each time you have to create those many number of objects of that class. That is not required, because since you have created it as static, you can simply call that class name dot the function name. It will work. That is the advantage of static keyword, and it is, if it is associated with synchronization, each of the calls will be synchronized. It means mutually exclusive. They become mutually exclusive. Now I'll just run this and show it to you. Have I used any where join method? I have never used. So what has happened here? Here T1, T2, T3, T4 all have been started, but each is called with 1, 10, 100 and 1000. Okay, whichever comes into picture. Since I have used static, each of these will have their own part, so they will never have interconnection in between the two threads that are getting created. So each thread works on its own because it is mutually exclusive. There is no need of explicit call of join method. So in order to avoid that join, what you can use is static synchronization. So what is the advantage of static synchronization? You want to keep mutual exclusion. Along with that, you want to make sure that once the thread has started, it will complete, only then the other thread starts. It is implicit telling of join usage. Varshini, Please let me know.
Got it, ma'am.
Is it clear? I'll be sharing this program to you in the Google Classroom today. All these programs
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
be sharing. Okay. You can do the modifications in that, and accordingly, you can ask me the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And one more thing, guys. Before I end the class, you also know that I have not yet started advanced Java. Okay. But sooner you have first IA coming up. Okay. Somebody asked me what is the portion for first IA. Okay. It becomes so difficult for me to tell right now. Anyways, in the coming 2 or 3 classes, I will try to cover Java FX as quickly as possible. Okay. And please note, few questions will be there on multi-threading also. On multi-threading, but I'll not be taking any questions from exceptions. Please note it, you will have multi-threading as well as Java FX for the first IE. Okay, I'm just typing it, multi-threading and Java FX. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So any